All right, so yeah, like I said, substitution is switching a variable or term with what it equals. It's kind of like if you give me a $20 bill, I can give you 4 5s in return. You follow me? It's like switching out money. Same idea. If I know 20 is 4 5s, well, then I can swap out 4 5s for 20 or 20 for 4 5s. It doesn't matter which one I use. They are the same thing. All right, so for example, so you can say something like, well, a 20 is 4 5. It's like swapping them out. So more an example of what we'll see something more like this, like x equals 4y. And let's say 3x equals 24y minus 7. Okay, that's a little bit bigger of an example. What I'm going to do is, since I know x is 4 y's, or a 20 is 4 5s, I can take this and plug it right there. And instead of an x, I'll write 4y instead. And just bring everything else down. Okay? So what we're doing with this, the goal in this is to, now you see how I have 2 variables right here? It is impossible to solve an equation with 2 variables. You can't do it. It does not happen. But by substituting this in, I am down to 1 variable. Now I can solve it. All right? That's the purpose of this, is to substitute something in, therefore eliminating a variable, so the x goes away. Now I got 2 y's instead. Okay? So that's the purpose of substitution. That's what we're doing today. Okay? And we're going to give you a few steps. I'm actually going to take, these are less than steps, these are more goals. All right, these are goals. Because they're not like subtract by this, divide by that. They're just, this is what we're looking for. So for goal number 1, basically we want to solve for x or y. All right? Pick any of them. Pick any. Now we'll say some are easier than others. All right? Some will lead you to fractions and some will not. So, as a hint, HINT, I would find the easiest one. Find the easiest. All right? Don't make it any harder than it has to be. Cool? Step 2, or goal number 2, substitute that into the other equation. EQUATION, equation. Substitute that into the other equation. So solve for one of them and then plug it into the other equation. Step or goal 3 is to solve. All right. At that point, solving becomes a little more self-explanatory. All right. Even if you're not fully savvy on how to do it, you can probably figure it out after doing it a few times. You follow me? So we're going to solve for one of the 4 variables, all right, whichever one feels easiest to us, and then we're going to substitute that into the other equation. All right? And then we're going to solve. So a few of you will still write it, so I'll just move that up there. Letter A. All right, I got 4 variables. I got an x, I got a y, and then I have a second x and a second y. All right? 3 of those are very easy to solve for. Which one do you think is the hardest one to solve for? The negative 5x. Not that dealing with the negative 5x is all that difficult, but here's the problem. How would I get this negative 5 away from the x? What would you do? Add, subtract, multiply, or divide? You divide. So I would have to divide everything by negative 5. Does anybody see a problem with that? Yeah, the y. You're left with a 1/5, right? So if you were to go for this x, don't worry about writing this down. If you were to go for that x, you'd be dealing with a fraction for the rest of the problem. You probably would get whole number answers, but you'd be dealing with fractions for a while. Instead, why don't we do something like this? Let's solve for, I don't know, let's solve for this one instead. Okay? What's the only thing you have to do if you're solving for that first x? Move the y. How do you move the y? Change the sign. So we're going to subtract it essentially. Good. So we'll subtract the y from both sides. So we got x equals negative 7 minus y. Now, if you wrote x equals negative y minus 7, that's fine as well. It does not matter which order you put those in. But you got to have them both in there. Cool? And I'll pause. Any questions so far? All right. Probably. Bokai, yes I do. The cafeteria. Are they doing registration right now or something?
Yeah, for Northway.
Oh, for Northway. Okay. That's cool. All right, so we got that. We have solved for one of the variables. That was goal number 1. All right. Goal number 2, plug it into the other one. Since this is my 20 and this is my 4 5s, I'm going to swap my 20 out for 4 5s. So I can plug this in for x. So I will write this equation verbatim except for the x. So here we go. We'll go negative 5. When we get to that x, we're going to, let's swap in the 4 5s. So negative 7 minus y. And then write the rest of it down. Plus y equals 5. I'm not saying that's the hardest part for students, but that's where students make the most mistakes. All right? I think it's just writing it down, just moving something wrong is really what it is. All right? But any questions about what we did right there? All right. Goal number 3, it says solve. So let's start solving. What do you think you got to do to solve? Okay, so we can distribute that. What is negative 5 times negative 7? What's up? 35. Okay, what's negative 5 times negative y? Okay, so plus 5y. And then did we do anything else to the rest of it? Good, so we'll just bring everything down. We didn't. So bring it all down. All right, like I said, I think y'all can do this. What are you going to do next? Okay, so add the y's. If I add them together, how many you got? 6y. Now, there's something else that I can do during the same step. What might you want to do? What else can we do? We added the y's. What else? Can I move this 35? Go ahead and move it over. Yeah, let's do that. So it's a positive, so we'll subtract it. So 5 minus 35 is negative what? Negative 30. Okay. Now, if you want to do that in 2 steps, that is fine. I just did it in 1. I combine my y's and I move my numbers to the other side. What's the last thing you got to do? By what? So negative 30 divided by 6 is negative 5. Cool. Now you might think, all of that for one of them? Do we have to do it again? No, you don't. You do have to plug it in and find the other one, but it does not require all that work. Okay? So here's the deal. I'm going to take that y equals negative 5, and we can plug it into any of these. The first one, the second one. You know what? I can even plug it into that one right there. Notice how that one I just pointed to, x has already been solved for? Let's use this one, because x is already solved for. You can do these ones, that's fine. You will still get the same answer. But this has already done a lot of the work for you. You follow me? So here we go. X equals negative 7. Plug in the negative 5. Negative 5. Which 2 negatives makes a positive? So what's negative 7 plus 5? So your answer is negative 2, negative 5. All right. Now here's the deal. If you can do this part over here in your head, I'm fine with that. You follow me? I simply wrote it down to make sure everyone is following along with what we're doing. If you can do that part over there in your head, I'm fine with that. It's just switch the negative. Negative 7 plus 5 is 2, negative 2. Okay. All right, we're gonna do a few of these. So if you're still lost, that's fine. We'll keep it up. All right, letter B. Letter B. Take a second. Don't yell it out. Take 10 seconds. Of the 4 variables, think to yourself, which one would you solve for? Don't yell it out. All right, which one you want? The first x, the first y, or the second x, or the second y? Why the second x? Because it's all alone. There's nothing out front. Okay? So what's the only thing you got to do to solve for that x? Okay, how do you get the 6y on the other side? You add it. It's a negative 6y, so we're simply going to add it. So those go away. So x equals what? Cool. And again, if you put negative 11 plus 6y, that is absolutely fine as well. It does not matter what order you put those in. All right, that was goal number 1. What are we going to do next? Substitute it where? That's a good question. Which is the one we haven't used? The first one. So plug it into the first one. Now, don't write this part down. Here is why we do not use the one we just did. So if I plug it back into this first equation, all right, if I plug it back into that second one, in this one right here, I put in 6y minus 11 for x, and then drag the rest of it down, negative 6y equals negative 11. What happens to those y's? They cancel out, and I'm left with negative 11 equals negative 11. All right, so everything goes away. It really doesn't help you. All right, so if you're ever left with something that looks like that, go back and plug it into the other one. Okay, you've plugged it into the wrong equation. That's what happened. Okay, so don't use the second one. We'll use the first one. So 3x. So copy this down verbatim except for the x. So we got 3. Instead of the x, what are we going to put in its place? Exactly. And then bring the rest down. We've got positive 2y equals 7. Cool. Anybody have any questions as to how we got that line at all? All right, walk me through. What are we going to do from here? Okay, so instead of a 6y minus 11, what are you going to write?
18y minus 33.
Okay, then what? Good.
So now you can combine the 2y and 18y.
Okay, so I'm slowing you down just a little bit so people can process it with me, but you're right. So we're combining the y's. So how many y's do you have when you combine those? 20. What is the other thing we can do?
The 33 and 70.
Good, we can combine our units. So how do we move that 33 over? Add it. So 33 plus 7 is what? 40. And then last but not least, y does equal 2. How do you know that? Divide by 20. So y equals 2. Well, I'm not going to box that. So we got our first variable, right? All right, we got our first variable. Where do we want to plug that in to find the second one? We want to use the first one, the second one, or the one we created? I would use the one you created. So again, you don't have to write this part down. I'm just showing you what we're doing. So x equals 6. Instead of y, we'll put the 2. So what's 6 times 2? 12. What's 12 minus 11? So your answer is 1, 2. Now I want you to write it as a point. Remember, it's xy. All right, because these are two lines. The answer is the intersection of those two lines. This 1, 2 is the point where they cross. Okay? All right, how do you feel like you're doing with this? Give me 5 and 1. 5, I got this easy peasy. 4, I'm okay. 3 in. 2, I'm lost. All right, turn the page. I kind of want you to walk me through this one a little bit. Take 10 seconds. Decide which one you want. Don't yell it out. Take 10 seconds. Decide which variable you want. All right, which variable are you solving for? The first x, the first y, the second x, or the second y? Ooh, I heard the first y, and I heard the second y. Let's do the first y, because it's already alone, right? What is the only thing you got to do to that equation to get y alone? Subtract the 4x. Good. So write that equation down. If I'm subtracting the 4x to the other side, write that equation down. Take 10 seconds and write it down. All right, what did you write? Okay, so we got 4x minus 1. Again, if you put negative 1 plus 4x, or minus, it's negative 4x, I'm sorry. Let's rewrite that. I'm losing my mind. You put a negative 4x and a minus 1. Good. And again, if you put the negative 1 first, then the minus 4x, that's absolutely fine. All right, so we got y alone. What are you going to do next? Say again? Something about the next one. You're right. Plug it into the next one. You're right. Substitute it into the next one. All right, so take a second. Instead of y, write this in for it. Take a second and write that equation out. Right. So we got 3x minus 5. Then what do we write? We want parentheses. Instead of the y, we put equals negative 18. Good. Good. Did anybody try and put an x right here still, or I'm sorry, a y? Did anybody try and put a y? You don't have to admit it. It's actually a very common mistake, is to just add what y equals and not take out the y or the x. Okay, don't fall into that trap. All right, again, this is like swapping out money. You got to take the 20 and you got to give them 4 5s instead. Same idea. All right, can you solve for x from there? I dare say you can. Give it a shot. Take, I don't know, 20 seconds. I think you can do it in 20 seconds. It takes 30, so what? Yes. That's an old one. Go ahead and take it. That's fine. X equals negative 1 for your answer. Sweet. All right, what's the last thing you're going to do with that? Yeah, plug it in. Which equation you want? You want the first one, the second one, or the one you made? Yeah, the one you made is almost always going to be the easiest one. I say almost because I can't think of a reason it wouldn't be, but so what is negative 4 times negative 1? 4. So 4 minus 1 is 3. So your answer is, what number goes first, the negative 1 or the 3? The negative 1. It's x, y. Remember, this is a point on a graph. All right, I don't think we need to do all the ones on this page, but there are 2 things we need to cover. Cool. Anybody have any questions on how we did any of this? All right. Go down to the letter E. Anybody know anything different about this? The top one's been switched around. Do you have to solve for any variable in this one to start off with? No. It's already been solved for you. So just take this and go ahead and plug it in. So you got 6x, not f of x. No, go away. We got 6x minus 5, negative 2x minus 9 equals negative 19. And you can solve from there. Okay? Yeah, if you don't have to solve for one, don't do it. It's already been done for you. Okay? But any questions on that? That's easy. You just need to see it. All right, the last one. Letter G. Are any of those variables alone? No. So, you can still solve for any of the 4 you want, but I promise you, one of those 4 is easier than the other 3. The 4y? It's already alone, you're right. But okay, let's ask this. How do I get that y alone? Divide by 4. So I'd have to divide this by 4. I'd have to divide that by 4. I'd have to divide that by 4. Can I divide 2 by 4 evenly? No, I get 1/2, right? All right. So is there any one of these 4 variables that I can divide by and I get no fractions? The 2x. Good. If I get that one alone, if I go divide by 2, divide by 2, what's 4 divided by 2? 2, so 2y. Those ones cancel out. Negative 4 divided by negative 2 is? All right. And so the last thing you got to do is move that 2 over. Give me 2 minutes. All right. Does that make sense? So, bottom line is this. Look for the one, like if I divide this by 3, yeah, 2 is not divisible by 3. So I wouldn't pick that one. If I divide by 2, yeah, 3 is not divisible by 2. Find the one that makes life the easiest. So like letter H. I want you to take 10 seconds. I want you to look at letter H. Don't yell it out. Decide which one you want to solve for. Don't yell it out. All right, of the 4 variables, which one you want? The 3x? With the first one or the second one? First one. Why? Good. I can divide all of those by 3. Which that's just x. Negative 6 divided by 3 is negative 2. And 21 divided by 3 is 7. So x would equal 2y plus 7. Cool. That's about as hard as this gets. Straight up. So take out your homework. Second period already opted this decision for you. I would like you to cancel out the right column, the evens. Just do the odds. You follow me? Just scratch out the entire right column. All right? Partially because you'll notice that, if you haven't noticed already, number 1 and number 2 are very similar. Number 3 and number 4 are very similar. Number 5 and number 6, like they're paired up like that on purpose. All right? All the answers are on the right side. So if you get one of those answers on the right, I'm willing to say 99% of the time you will have the right answer. The odds of you doing it wrong and getting one of those is very slim. You follow me? So there you go. You got, I think, 9 problems because one of them scratched out on the back. Any questions, comments, concerns? All right, have at it. Let's do this.